Okay, so for this group, Action Against Parental Alienation, you can see the date which this page was started was 2015. I believe it was May of 2015. This was about a year after I filed for divorce against my wife for the first time. I filed 3 different times and went through with it on the third. But I started in 2015, I started this group in 2015 to kind of document these things because I still had hope that we'd be able to reconcile and she'd stop her threats of telling me that she was going to turn the kids against me if I divorce her. I thought she might turn around and change her mind and be the sweet, loving wife she was to begin with. But that never happened. And so by 2020, we got divorced. In that time, when I filed for divorce February of 2020, like I said, I filed 3 times. First in Idaho in 2014. Then I started this group in 2015. Then I filed again in 2019 in Hawaii. And then again in 2020 in Hawaii in February. And then I separated from her and went to Seattle for a while. And my son went with me for, I think we were there for 4 months. We were there until the COVID outbreak happened, and then we left. So the crisis for me, the real thing that, solidified the divorce and, the reason why I finally went through with it was I saw not only was she, telling our friend group things, about me. I was misogynistic. I wasn't helping around the house. I would make her do everything. I wouldn't do anything, which is not true. I changed at least as many diapers as she did. I quit my management job at Federal Communication to come home and work from home to help her with the kids. And you'll see in a lot of my social media videos, like on ex-cannabis.com on YouTube, probably, 30 or maybe even 50 videos are with me holding a baby and feeding a baby. She would pump milk, she would breastfeed, but she would pump milk. I would be up all night with my job, my tech support job, doing robotics engineering, tech support of automated pharmacies, taking calls from customers, holding a baby, and doing my social media. And so I was always attentive and being, very involved as a father. I probably didn't do as many dishes as she did. Maybe I didn't pick up the house as many times as she did. But I worked 96 hours a week. I operated multiple retail stores in that time, in the same time in which I was on the clock for 96 hours a week. When I got almost killed in a car accident in 2013, I had been up for 3 days straight. I have videos, talking about how, I've drove all the way up from California to Seattle. I've worked all night. Now I'm training during the day and I have to work again at night and then I have to drive home again. And that's what happened. I got in a car accident and the guy that hit me head on killed himself. I almost died too. And that was in 2013. And then I paid for, lavish trips all over the world, like 12 countries, 3 continents for my ex-wife and our kids, and did everything I could to make our lives nice. Always had very nice homes and multiple investments and, was planning a good retirement and everything else. Meanwhile, helping with the kids as much as possible. But when she stopped recognizing my help and started telling our friends how misogynistic I was, that was offensive enough. But then the biggest thing, the clincher for me, was when she started painting my son as misogynistic. And this kid has always been the sweetest kid I've ever known. And never a sign of misogyny or hatred towards women or anything like that. But what she claimed while we were divorced and I was in Seattle with him was she was, trying to illustrate a point of, well, your son's become misogynistic. I asked him to clean his room once and he says, no, I don't have to. I have sisters. And so while I was there with him, and of course I record, especially events like that, that's why I started this page, is to document these issues of parental alienation. But I asked him, I said, did you say that? Did you say you didn't have to clean your room because you have sisters? He's like, no. And I believe him. The guy is ultra honest. Like in our interactions, I have felt a sense of honesty with him. He's very diplomatic and he does like to see both sides, but he usually tells it straight. And in this point, I believed him. What I think was the case is, and he's lazy. He'll probably admit to that. He doesn't like to go outside. He doesn't like to clean very much. He likes to play video games. It's like any teenage boy that doesn't have discipline, that doesn't get, chores and, things to do, and told that he can't play video games. Like his stepfather, he sits and plays video games all day. And, and I don't. I work all the time. But he's kind of, into his video games and illustrations, and, he doesn't get told that he needs to go and do chores or, get a job mowing lawns or whatever. So he just gets stuck on these video games, and he gets very into them. And I think what has happened, what this case of what she recited to me was, more so, was he was like, no, how about you have my sisters do it? I'm busy. Not, no, I don't have to because I have sisters and girls do all the work. See, I think there was a difference in the tone and the actual verbal communication, and I think she twisted it like she does all of the things that she twists for me. Like when she claims I'm misogynistic or I'm this or I'm that, like she would to our friends to kind of demonize me while we were married, saying things that were absolutely untrue. Had maybe a hint of truth here and there, but the exaggeration spun the story to something that it was completely not. And I think that's what she did to my son, so she could sort of emasculate him, so he could, first be corrected as being a misogynist, and then indoctrinated with this feminist ideology, which now he is. I mean, when he was a kid, he was naturally just aggressive, superhero kind. He wore a cape, threw himself off a bed once, broke his clavicle. We called him the Brick. I mean, he was just kind of wild and bullheaded as a kid, and not a effeminate kid like he is now, like his stepfather is. His stepfather's a tranny, transvestite, I think. Maybe he's transgender. I really don't know. I just say tranny because I don't know. But he wears women's clothing, dresses up like a girl, wears fake boobs, whatever. And I think because that's what my ex-wife prefers, when she started collecting friends, and she was a Christian before I met her. She had converted to Christ with her brother at his church before I met her. And so I didn't indoctrinate her. I didn't push her into it. I was into it already. She was into it. We made a union on that. And then, I don't know, around 20... I don't know what it was, 14 or 15. No, it was 2013, because we had this friend up in the park that we lived by, this trailer park in California, in French Gulch, and she had this girl who was a stripper who was into this feminist stuff. And so she started collecting these feminist friends, lesbo friends, tranny friends, whatever, especially one in Hawaii that calls herself Joey, who told me at my son's birthday party that she was into my wife sexually. And my wife let her call her wife. Like, she let Joey call her wife. My ex-wife did. So, anyway, I just think that, that's what's happened is my kids are being indoctrinated, they're being brainwashed, and they're being, in what she said she would do, turned against me by using this feminist ideology. And if you read what Kate Mallory Millett had done in the late 1960s, I believe it was 1970, when they had this meeting talking about how they were going to destroy the patriarchy and destroy the American family and, replace it with their ideology. Mallory Millett told this to an Australian college in an interview about how this whole NOW organization started, the National Organization for Women, and it started with them saying they were going to destroy the patriarch, the American family, and they were going to replace it with feminist ideology. And I think that's kind of where my ex-wife has jumped on this train, is because of all these feminist, activists and lesbians and transgender people she accumulated in her life in the later years of our marriage. I think that they were on that plan of Kate Millett, of what she had intended to do to destroy the so-called patriarchy and the American family as a cultural revolution. And they started using, very twisted games and lies and innuendo and reputation destruction and other tactics to destroy people, which is what their goal was. I mean, their stated goal. That's what they intended to do with the National Organization for Women. The person who founded it, Kate Millett, said that explicitly in that 1970 meeting, according to Mallory Millett, her sister, and in a book she wrote as well. So I think that's the feminist theory they jumped on board with: destroy men, destroy the family, rebuild it with its cultural revolution. And it's just sad that my kids got caught up in the crossfire. And so I'm making this statement, and again, like I say, all of my words someday will be able to go through lie detection, because it will be nearly 100% accurate at some point. And whether they scan my eyes, my blood, or my words, or the voice, or whatever it is that lie detection uses to analyze the truth of my statements, I stand by them, and I believe that I will be vindicated no matter who says what. Whether they say what I'm saying is not true, or whether whatever. I believe that someday my kids will be able to see this and know that I'm telling the truth, and this is the facts. My poor son was only 8 when this all happened to him. Now he's 13 and has changed his persona entirely to fit the little family structure that he's in, which is very LGBT, mostly the T part, friendly. And my daughter is using hormones, gender hormones. She's taking testosterone to become more masculine. So it's all wild and crazy to me, but that's where it started, and that's why my marriage ended. I was hoping that I could save my reputation and save myself from destruction, because I was close to suicide for a lot of those years, so that I could be here for my kids, at least to try to help or guide them or be a reliable person in their life, to save them from this destruction, this curveball that's being thrown at them. But if I hadn't have divorced my ex-wife, I wouldn't be here right now to talk about this, guarantee you.